Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Great to have you all in the class. This is Faraz Khan again. We're going to be starting Arabic Calligraphy 101. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time, more than an hour, to put your family in a separate place, or hopefully they're with you, joining us with calligraphy classes. I know I've gotten some comments back that some of the children were able to join, spouses, so that's great. We welcome that. It's supposed to be like a family event, right? So welcome to the family event. I will start, inshallah, very soon as people are logging in. And I don't want you to log out, so I'm going to talk about homework first. How about that? Okay, I'll give you some breathing room. But how's your morning going? So far, so good. You got your coffee mug, chai, tea with you, right? That's like your wake up alarm, wake up call. I enjoyed my tea. I'm not a coffee person. I'll drink coffee if I'm out there, but generally it's tea time. So yep, definitely you need your wake up call. And yeah, so we're going to be going over some calligraphy lessons, but obviously, tricks and tidbits. But I want to also introduce you some of the writings of not necessarily calligraphy from students in this class. I don't want to embarrass people. At least I'm not going to try to mention names, but I'm going to try to introduce calligraphy from other classes too, just so we kind of get to see not only how you do it right, but what's wrong as well. Okay, so what you're looking at in front of you, hopefully, and please do, this is like an open class, so you could raise your hand. I actually like it when people just put a comment in the chat. So, put a comment in the chat if something's going wrong. I've always mentioned, sometimes I don't have my things plugged in. And sometimes I have the videos upside down and I'm still a rookie learning the whole Zoom thing. You think you know it, but once you start doing it yourself, it's just like so much harder. So, all right. So we'll do that. So let's grab pens, papers, calligraphy stuff, and we'll get started. I know there are a lot of people, and I would also mention, I mentioned this to the other class, when you're putting a comment, you have a choice where you do the chat comments or messages. You could see it where it says to either all panelists or to the what do you call attendees, or to basically everybody, or to speaker only. Okay, so you could do that. If you just want to send me the message, you could do that. But I think if you send it to everybody, they also get the gist of what you're talking about if I don't relay that same message. Are we emailing our homework? You could do that if you want, yes, that's fine. I didn't really specify that for a reason, because I can't really check everybody's homework. It's going to be very difficult for me. But I've seen some homework from students, and it looks good. So far, so good. I think people are getting hang of it. But if you're having great difficulty with some of this stuff, and you will, obviously, I'm gonna just tell you this, to be sincere with you, it's not gonna be a walk in the park calligraphy lesson. Well, walk in the park is a, leisurely activity, but it's not gonna be a passive activity, that's for sure. You have to be active in this class. And a lot of times, people have this concept of, calligraphy, you do it and it's so relaxing. It is for people who want to just do bad calligraphy. So if you want to do bad calligraphy and want to be relaxed, that's fine. This stuff is so beautiful. Oh my God. Right? So you could do that if you want, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to learn. And part of learning is part of being, learning requires you being uncomfortable, to say the least. If you're not agitated, if you're not frustrated, you're not learning. It's like asking, a fifth grader to recite ABC. You know, if they could recite it, because it's not, they've already learned this, they're already programmed. If you're going to teach them like mathematics or tables, algebra, or geometrical rules and, you know, patterns, then they have to learn something and they're going to struggle. So same thing here, inshallah. I don't want to talk too much about homework. So yeah, we're going to go over today jeem, ha, kha, the next set of abjad, right? Abjad are like a group of letters that are distinguished only by dots, okay? So, or you could call them form. That's a better word, I guess. It's an easier word. So ba, ta, tha, those two, the three letters, right after alif, has the same form. They're only distinguished by the dots. As you could see right here, there's only one form, the black dots underneath. And so we're going to learn about these other dots. So let's get started. I'm going to grab my paper. And by pens. So today, what you're seeing in front of you, and let me know if you, for some reason, if you're not able to see something, do let me know, because a lot of times, you know, it's, I will not know. I will continue to go on with my lesson unless somebody puts like a message in the chat. So, okay, so let's get started. We had the first unique calligraphy experience before with the letters, and I'll go over the mistakes. We'll just get started with the first letters first, okay? So let me just go to screen share. I'm gonna stop share here. I'm gonna flip the video and we're gonna go to my pad. Okay, so I'm here. Again, how do you hold a pen? You hold it like this, and it's like a screwdriver, right? Flat head, and then you twist it. So the pen is looking at one, right? And the way you know that you got the pen right is because you're able to create these alifs with edges, okay? So alif like that, and then we said ba. Ba is very simple. You create that thing first, and I'm gonna pick up my pen just to show it to you. It's kind of like a stretched dot going under. Keep your pen just the way it is, and then just go sideways. All right, that's number 2. One is to go down, 2 is to go across, and 3 is to then pick up your pen going up. So you will have a third line. It's actually going like this. Okay, and then we could put a dot, right? You could put the dot underneath, that's ba, 2 dots, da, and 3 dots, da. One thing that I learned from your homework is that some people, let me just check, hold on a second. We're doing good, right? Okay. Some people are putting dots, and if you look at your calligraphy sheet, so I'm gonna put this here. Take a look at how dots are placed. Dots, I'm gonna move this. Dots are supposed to be together. 2 dots together, 3 dots, 2 dots together in a twin, and then 1 goes on top. Okay, make sure when you're putting your dots in on the letters, sometimes what people are doing is, let me show you. This is my class from, this is not this class. I think the students in this class are a bit advanced, but this is my class that I did at the Arts Council. These are like 8th graders. And this was a summer program, and I had a really great time with these guys. They were a blast. They actually, at the end of the course, they made they knew my weakness was cupcakes and brownies, and they actually made so many cupcakes and brownies. It was like unbelievable amount of sugar. But so I still I remember my class from arts council days. Anyways, so one of the students, this is an 8th grader again, when they're placing dots, you could see how these two dots are not together. And if you look at calligraphy, when the dots are not side by side, they look like a rookie mistake, or they look like a novice, you know, like somebody who's learning. So what you want to do, if you see something like this, you know, when you come across 2 dots or 3 dots, you always want to place those dots close together. Got it? So let's practice that. So I'm going to put in a single form. Let's practice. Continue. 1, 2, 3, 1 dot, and then right next to it, my paper is bleeding a little bit, so you could kind of see it's getting like round. But right next to it, it has to be just touching it. So I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. How should it look like? So this is your dot. Literally, that's how it should look like. Wait, can you see that? I can't see it. I think you can see it. Hold on. Place it closer. Okay. Let me use my marker. Sorry. I'm going to use my marker just so you don't have an excuse. So the 2 dots should look something like this. Right? You see how they're touching each other, kind of, and so they're juxtaposed or next to each other. All right, that's not a beautiful dot, but it is what it is. So I want to just kind of zoom into it, and that's how it should be. All right, so that's how that. And then we're going to go on to the letter G. Okay, are you guys ready? So jeem has 2 forms, right? Sometimes the header. There's a version that's out there in solo. Sometimes people copy it. But so this is our sheet that we're looking at. The easy way to do it, and I will show you the easy way. All of these letters have different ways of doing calligraphy. They have more than one way of doing it, okay? Or more than one, I don't want to call it form, but more than one typeset, I guess you could say. So I want to practice the simplest one, or the basic one, in Nusk. So we're learning Nusk calligraphy, and I want to practice that one. So this is, let's say, G. So the mistake that most people commonly make is that they make it go round. Okay, so I want you to look at your jeem. I want you to create your jeem first. I'm going to do it here. Watch how I do it. I've noticed that whenever I say watch the pro, I mess it up really well. So I'm not going to even say that. So you kind of go like this. See, my pen wasn't really good here. And then you can go all the way and then come back, or you pick up the pen and you go halfway. Oops, I'm off the paper. See, watch the pro. All right, so I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to start off here again. Put the pen, go up. Right, that's a big line. You go back and then come back down, or easier to do this. All right, now when you're coming back, I want you to recognize this, that there is an invisible line. I don't know if you can see my line. I want to make sure you see my line. There's an invisible line. All right, that line, you're not supposed to go beyond with that letter. So all right, so yeah, so I know my letter is like widened a little bit because the way the camera is placed, it's not as wide. I'm going to try to show it to you on the paper. This is kind of all these like issues with camera angle. But I think if we place it closer, you could see it better, hopefully. Okay, so if you could see it, you'll see that this part, and I'm going to take chat questions. This obviously has to stay back. I should have done it a little bit higher, but this should, the line, you should never go beyond the header. That's rule number 1. 2, when you come down here, excuse me, on the back of the head, this should extend out. Okay, that should extend out, and this should be more linear than horizontal. Okay, what I mean by that, jeem is a linear letter. Many people, what they do, and this is a different type of calligraphy, they do this. All right, hold on a second. And so let me make sure we're doing it right. Sorry. I'm gonna be upside down for a second. Okay, so any questions at this point you have? Please send, if you're having difficulty with this, I wanted to show you, I wanted to pull it up and I wanted to show it to you. Now I think it might be a little clear, better, that this is more of a linear letter. Here we go. Okay, so this is a linear letter. If you look at the G, it's not a round letter. This is a different type of calligraphy. Okay, you don't want to make it round like that. If you do that, that's a mistake. But if you do this, slightly go down, and you could see my boxes, ratio and proportion. So I went kind of about 4 boxes, the whole letter, vertically. But if you look at horizontally, I think I cover 1, 2.5, maybe 3. Okay, so about 3 of them. I'll try to do make a better jeem, but this was just kind of going off the thing. All right, so we'll go over it. It needs more practice. What you need to do if you get stuck with anything, any of these letters, you need to break it down and practice the steps. So let's see if I could do this. Let's see if I could do it this way. All right, so the first step is to, it's kind of awkward for me, but do this. That's your first step. The header. Okay, give this a little slight, what do you call it? Serif to it. That's the English letter, right? So you have to give it a little bit of starting point. And you're holding the pen in the way that you have been. 1 o'clock, that's what we call it. I'm going to do it again, okay? So practice the header. If you're not getting it right, practice the header. And then start practicing, and then you go back to about halfway, all right? Almost halfway. I find it easier to go down this way. And you could put the dots first. How you're going to create the letter. If you printed out your calligraphy book, then that would be great too. Or the 2 pages, not the book, the 2 pages that I sent you. They're essentials, they're very helpful. If you look at them, you could practice on top of them too. That's the idea. And it shows you how to hold your calligraphy nib. So here are these letters. The top letters, it shows you 1, 2, 3. And then the bottom one also shows you, I'm going to hold it for a second so you practice. The bottom one shows you how to hold the pen. And I will show it to you on the screen as well. Okay, so if you're able to place your header the way it describes it, and just go first, create the top line, and then recognize that the stomach of the letter or the chest of the letter should not go beyond the header, right? If it's a straight line, then you got it. Okay, so don't have this go beyond that. And then you kind of go, don't make it a circle. That's the other big mistake. And then at the end, try to go a straight line. It's actually a straight line. The bottom part is a straight line. But you're looking at it and then you're like, well, how about this swoosh, like this small, fine, angular mark? And I'll show you how to do that, okay? So we're gonna practice the bottom line at this point. All right, so I have some questions in chat I will go over, or some suggestions. All right, I am sending you brownies and cupcakes on. All right, does the tail or last part of the jeem goes straight or curve up? So we said, if you look at it very, very closely, I want people to tell me, does it go straight out or does it go curve? Does it curve up? Where did it go? All right, put it in the chat. Does it go straight out or curve up? The bottom part, where I'm pointing. Put it in the chat or the message. Do you think, question, do you think that the jeem is, the bottom is straight or curved? I have one person saying straight, straight out of the ballpark, straight out of, okay. This seems like a straight letter. So, does it, everybody? Okay, so now this is what we're gonna look at. It is straight, it's straight line. Again, other types of calligraphy, when they talk about it as letter being curved, and that's not the calligraphy we're practicing. That's an important part to realize. The calligraphy that we're practicing, it's called naskh, N-A-S-K-H. I'll type that out. Oh, that went to all panelists. Hold on. I always have to fix this too. Naskh, okay, so that's the style that we have with the kha in the middle. Now what we're gonna do is we want to practice the bottom part, right? That's the difficult part, and I'm gonna show you how to fix mistakes too. I have to flip my camera. I hope this works for you when I'm practicing it this way. The idea is to show it to you. I want to actually have another camera in there, 2 cameras, but I haven't had a chance to practice myself at that before I get lost and get you confused. So we practice this top part a few times. 1. Let's practice this 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I did that 5 times. Now I have, again, an invisible line. You should, if perhaps you want to draw this line if it's not in front of you. Okay, and then there should be an invisible line here. You can use a ruler if you like. I have graph paper, I could see the lines. I'm not sure. The reason why I draw it so you could see the lines that I have. So I want to go in this direction. Dot, 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 dot. Dot, 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 dot. Okay, and then the letter is gonna, if you look at it, the letter is gonna go in this direction. So literally it's a straight line. I'll go over it. Okay, now I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do the bottom part. All right, once you come down to this point should be really thick point. Oops. Yeah, this point should be a really thick point. But what happens at the end is this. Once you get here, you kind of continue with the top of the tip of the pen. Like that, okay? So like this. You lift up the bottom tip of the pen to the end and then only continue with the top. It comes with practice, but it will come. And once it comes to you, then you'll be like, whoa, this is so cool. All right, I'm being a geek, right? So it comes, you know, and so you have to kind of feel your pen, like the way around with your pen, how it works, and you'll get there. But if you're not able to, and guess what? A lot of calligraphers don't have it right first time. And it's just the way, like the where they're sitting, or the pen or the paper being a little folded or up and down. You know, not everything is perfect at all times. So let's say if you make a mistake, or we come down to this, right? And it's a block right at this point. That's a wrong thing. You could always use the edge, the tip of your pen, extend it, connect it, and fill it in. You see that? So that's a little trick. A lot of times you won't see it when calligraphers are doing their work. And one of the misconception about calligraphy, if you look at it, Arabic calligraphy, is that you always see it as if it's written in one sitting. Most of the time it is. But you know, people think like the whole work was done in, you know, wow, just one like 10-minute session. No, it takes months and months of practice, you know, sometimes weeks of planning, depending on what type. I mean, the stuff that we're doing is very fundamental and simple, but once you get into a bigger artwork. The other thing is when they come across things where it's not clear, they will go back and fix their calligraphy. So we'll go back. We get to this point. All right, I want to show you how I'm doing it. Right, like that. So you could do that. It takes a little bit more practice, but if you're not able to do that and you're going at the bottom, let's say we stop here, right? You could always use the edge, the tip of the pen, and fill it in. I'll show it to you again, like this. All right, so make sure you have the tip the way it's shown and not done in a wrong way. Good job. One common mistake sometimes I've seen is sometimes people do the tip the other way around. So for example, going like this, and then, is that correct? No. And if you don't know what's incorrect about it, I want you to really recognize what's correct. The tip should be going like this. All right, and not like this. Let me do it again. So the tip, this is like a big drawing. Tip of the pen should be going, curving like this, rough sketch, and not like this. You see it? Okay, I hope that clarifies some of the stuff on the form abjad, ba, and jeem, ha, kha. And let's have some questions. Let's see what people wrote. Looks like the Nike swoosh. Yeah, that's what it is. Is it? Hold on. Yeah, somewhat like Nike stuff. So let's go over some really, really bad calligraphy. There's no bad calligraphy. All right, bad writing. I don't know about that. But let's practice some of what we preach and focus on some of the, let's learn from our mistakes, right? This is again an 8th grader who has never done calligraphy, and then they were doing this as a punishment from their parents who paid for the summer class. No, I'm just joking. So what we see here is the letter Aleph is pretty good, right? It's pretty solid. I mean, they could have done better. This is a little bit too thick. I would have it a little too fine. If you look at Ba, what are some of the mistakes? First thing, for starter, that should not curve in like that. Okay, it should be a little finer. The pen seems like the way they're holding their pen is a little too thick, or the pen is not that good, that sharp. Okay, the nib, but that should not come in. It should stay open like this. All right, that should slight bent, but it should not curve in like this all the way. That looks more like a doll, the letter doll. Duh. The second thing is they have the really thick line, which is pretty good, pretty solid. And then they have the fine line, which is pretty nice, but a little bit more higher, okay? If they're able to do it. The dot is kind of stretched out, so that's not a good dot. Maybe a rhombus again, right? That's smaller. Same thing, we see a pattern here. I would say do not fold it in like this, this part. And then the two dots on top, that's a big no-no. That would make your calligraphy stand out as really, you know, it's like somebody learning to fry an omelet or something like that, or an egg or something first time and just making a debauchery of it, okay? So I don't know. So two dots should go together just like the way we discuss it. These dots should be juxtaposed. If you look at those two dots that I'm showing you, that's how they should meet up, always going together. And if it's three dots, then two dots should meet, and then the third one should be on top. Okay, so that's what we talked about, some of the mistakes. Now let's look at the mistakes here. Jeem. The jeem, it's running too much into each other. The header is running too close to the stomach, right? It should be down a little bit. What I mean by that is that there should be a breathing room for the head. It's like the letter has no neck. Hate to use that analogy, but so let's look at this. This goes further down. There's some room for it to go, right? As opposed to this one. You see the difference? They've done a good job of stretching it like this and making it linear. Okay, right here. And the reason why they're able to do it, I think that one of the reasons why they're able to do this is a lot of times people have practiced, right? If you have read Arabic or the Quran or Urdu script or some other scripts, or if you've seen calligraphy of some styles, then you'll see that some of the letters are round, right? So people have a mental picture of these letters, and what they do is they only repeat the mental pictures that are in their head. Although they're looking at something like this, I've seen it many times. People are looking at something like this, but when they draw or when they write the letter, they draw the one that's in their head. Isn't that cool? They really it's unbelievable. I would tell people, look at this letter closely, and can you do it exactly the way it is? And they're good with their calligraphy or their writing, but they would do the letter that's in their head. So it's amazing because I know like people from West Africa, they have a traditional writing style that's different. And so they do their letters the way that have been taught to them. People from like India, Pakistan, right? They do letters, again, round letters for most part. If they're reading from the Quran, that's, you know, has like a round letters. People from Turkey, they're able to express it with a straight line. Generally speaking, obviously, right? I'm talking about like people who are not calligraphers. So it's amazing because whatever it's in your head, when you hold a pen, that's what comes out. So any questions at this point? We're going to do, I want to show you, if not, then I want to move on to, I want to show you more calligraphy. We're going to do more calligraphy, but I wanted to show you the dot-based system that inshallah at this point you should be aware of or you should learn. And that's what's going to take your calligraphy to another level. There are many ways of expressing how calligraphy is done, or rules or standards, but this is one that teaches people. This is my calligraphy share. Hold on. So this is what we've been looking at. So we're going to go into all these letters. The hardest letter, I believe, after jeem ha kha is actually ra. That's the hardest letter, I believe, on this line. And this letter, even though it's very simple, if you haven't practiced it, if you haven't looked at it with calligraphy, most people will get it wrong all the time. So, okay. So I don't see any questions. I'll wait a few more seconds before. Oh, I got something here. And then we're going to look at the dot system. I want to teach you, or start to teach you with raw. Yes, raw was tough for me. Very cool. I mean, very bad. Anybody else? Raw was tough. Anybody else had a good time with raw? Gotcha. Oh, the other thing is, also I learned the hard way. The dal or the da or ra, those two letters. This is dal, and then this is ra. And if I mention it without pointing to you, I apologize. Sometimes it's in your head. We're going to go over ra, yes, and then we're going to go over the letters dal too. I used to look at this and I used to make this letter, and people would say, is it ra or is this that? Because they're so closely, although they look totally different here, but most people, when they're writing it, because it's slightly curved, you see, most people will get it wrong. So we're gonna go over that, but first, let's go over I'm going to ask you if you could see this. Are you guys able to see the dot-based system? Okay, so it's a question. Are you able to see letters with red dots? Okay. So you're not able to see it. Okay, I'll share it again. Hold on a second. That's good. I get some feedback. So, all right, let's try it. Are you able to see it? I hope you're able to. Okay, so now let's do this. This is very important. How many of you have seen this type of ratio and proportion in terms of standards for writing calligraphy? Say yes or no. Have you seen, this is what's called a measurement system. So I get an idea how many people have had any chance with this. Okay, there's nothing wrong if you haven't seen it. It's just that you've been missing the lesson of your life. Just kidding. I think I should have like a pen where, like, if it's a joke, I should bring in like a happy face or something, like you're supposed to laugh. I can't hear your feedback. So, all right. So it seems like a lot of people have not seen it, but that's fine. This is how they used to measure calligraphy. They're, imagine 1400 years ago, they're trying to, the reason why calligraphy became such an important part of the Islamic art or movement, or expansion, I guess you want to call it, or writing style, is because of the simple idea of preservation of the Quran, right? Preservation of the book, so people don't make mistakes reading, like, for example, mistakenly reading the D sound for R sound, or R sound for D sound, because the letters kind of look similar, right? Or this heavy S sound for a T sound, because the letters kind of look similar. So they don't want it, the whole idea was, how can we clarify? And Nasq basically is the script itself. It means to copy, right? And that's what Nasq means, to copy, because they were copying the Quran, okay? So they wanted to develop a script. This is just a quick lesson in history of it. They wanted to develop a script that was very, very legible, simple to read. This has nothing to do with styling and all that other stuff that would come in with other scripts, later script, like starting out with Diwani, right? Riqa was a short form, kind of like that. Solus was like the majestic, like the king of all scripts, basically, or the queen of all scripts. So these were other scripts that came in later. But this, again, the idea is, how can we make it very simple to read? So there had to be some sort of measuring device, some sort of standard, right? So this is what's called a standard template. And so this is not the best template out there. There are many that are better, and I will share with you the even simpler ones. But this is good because it kind of gives you everything in one sheet. And I'll actually, what I'm going to do at this point, good reminder, this is just off of some website image that I looked up. So I am sending you, it's in the chat. If you're able to, I don't want you to lose this. So if you could maybe right click and open the tab in another, or you could open the tab and then this way you have it secured even after my class. Okay. I hope you got the link. So now you have that sheet, and I think that's how we should do it. Like I could just leave a link and you could click on it and right click and tab. So what I'm talking about, just to be clear, you can't tab. It's select all, no. Can we copy and paste? So I'm gonna copy and paste. Oh, okay. So I could copy, and then I could open up another tab and I could paste it right there. And this way you'll have the script. Okay, now, so this is a standard sheet. The 5 dots indicate that this is the length of the letter Aleph. If you don't have the letter Aleph 5 dots, or 4-ish, 4.5, then the length, according to the nib size, is not sufficient. So I will show you the example here. Again, let me go stop share. So this is my big, thick calligraphy pen marker. All right, and first of all, the dot that you create with this pen is much bigger, right? Oops. So the dot that you create is much bigger than the one that you have, the 3mm nib. Hence, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. Got it? So that the size of my Aleph, if I do it, and if I hold it in the right way, that's how my Aleph should look like. Okay, it doesn't matter what nib I'm holding, if it's big, thick nib like this, or if it's a finer nib. So I'm going to show you an example again. With the calligraphy pen that you have, but I'll do it in a different color. So now right next to it, so what if I have a smaller pen, right? 5 dots for Aleph. So let's see what happens here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that? That's where my 5 dots line up. About this much. And my Aleph. Got it? The idea is this is a ratio and proportion driven calligraphy system. So if your nib is bigger, your length of the Aleph or each letter would be obviously bigger. If the nib is smaller, same ratio, 5. So this goes to the dots that you could create with your nib. And that's how you learn what's the exact measurement of each letter. Got it? And at this point, what I have to do, a light bulb should go off, and then you should be like, wow, this is amazing, right? You've never seen this before. And from here on, you will have an easier time learning calligraphy and becoming a master. Got it? This is it. This is a big deal. All right, so once you recognize that, Aleph has 5, so you basically have mentally, you have an idea of how many dots for each letter. So now we're going to show you again. So these are invisible dots that you haven't seen it. Recognize that each one of these letters are based off of these dots. They have nothing to do with the dots that you recognize or make a difference between dal and zal, ra and za, because there's a dot on top, so it's a different letter. No, it has nothing to do with that. This is just a measuring device. And for this reason, the dots are actually shown in red, okay? Just to kind of make it easier for you to see. Whoops. I'm here, hold on a second. Just to make it easier for you to see these dots. All right, hold on a second, where are we? Why did I flip this? Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. Sorry about that. I was supposed to share the screen. Okay. Let's see. If you could, in the message or chat room, type in. If you're learning, thumbs up, or you have known this stuff, or you're having really bad time, you're about to quit this class. Let me know if you are, getting your time's worth at this point. This is something new, or is this something you have known? So I should go in, faster pace, or is this a good pace? Basically, that's what really I'm looking for. Is this a good pace? I mean, you could always throw like, this guy sucks and he doesn't know what he's talking about. His calligraphy is not good. You could always throw that stuff. I don't mind calligraphy. And I tell people, and this is what we were discussing in the home decor class. We have another class yesterday. And I told people, look, I'm not a master calligrapher. I'm not offering you a calligraphy ijaza. Basically, I'm sharing with you some of the calligraphy that I have learned, Arabic calligraphy, and how I paint, in these other classes. But one thing is for sure, I want to share with you some of the things that may not be communicated when people do calligraphy. So that's basically the whole idea. Okay, great. So it seems like people are learning. That was just a way for me to feel good about myself. Confidence booster. Am I doing good or bad? Most people will say you're doing okay, and then it's like, this is my calligraphy, right? If your calligraphy looks like that, don't panic, by the way. You only had one class, so you're not gonna, but I think the whole name of the game is, to be honest with you, I've seen remarkable change 3 to 4 classes for some people. They just pick it up really. If they're doing their homework, and they really want to learn, internalize it, keep practicing it, by the 3rd, 4th month, their calligraphy picks up because they've seen all the tricks. I've shared with you, many of the tricks that most calligraphers are doing. So this is a big part. Most people don't learn. I don't teach this to the younger students as much because they get confused sometimes. So you may want, if you learn this and you have children who are sitting and learning with you, you may want to explain it to them what I'm talking about. And if it's too advanced, I apologize. But you could just skip over this. Okay. All right. Somebody asked a really good question, Reshma. What if my dots are bigger with the same pen? Dots are bigger than the same pen. It's almost impossible. So, because all of us have 3mm nib, as I understand you, if I understand your question right, you should have the same size of dot. Unless your paper is bleeding, like ink, and then just spreading out, your dots are getting bigger. I just can't see it. They have to be rhombus. They have to be this shape. Then they should be the same size. All right. You cannot create. I mean, because the dots are created like this. You know how we've talked about this. Sorry. That's how the dots are created. You cannot create dots by filling in or coloring in. and making a big square. That's not how you create dots. I hope I answered that one. All right, so Alif gets 5 dots. And let's see if you could create 10 Alifs with 5 dots and follow up this exercise. All right, so 10 Alifs, 5 dots. Something similar to this. You're practicing at this point, this letter. Take your time, though. Don't hurry up. No, I'm not going anywhere. So, and we're going to get to raw. I just want to get this in your head about dot system. Now, I want, if you've done this, put a star on the one that you think is the best. Measure your dots. The dots should be barely touching each other. Don't squish the dots and don't make the dots like, you know, this is one dot and then this is another dot somewhere here and there's a space between. Don't do that. Okay, the dots should be like kind of touching each other. And if you look at that, if you have a 3 millimeter nib pen, the pens that we're using, and that's the reason why I'm using the same pen as everybody. Same, when I said 3, it's the red pen, the red line. Okay, right here, that's my pen. If you're using the same pen, it's about 1 inch length of the Alif, the letter. Okay, and how you could, if you're if you're 5'6", 5'8", 5'5", 5 feet 5 inches, like that's your height. The pores on your finger, they're about 1 inch. So I would use that, and then I would line it up and I would say, hey, this looks like about 1 inch. All right, that's just a quick measuring tool. Don't measure your height like this. It won't go anywhere. She has 12-inch eyes, or it won't work like that. All right, so next is ba. This is the letter that we're looking at, and if you look at it, this shows the height of the letter. The height of the letter ba, so meaning from here to the top portion, and this is higher than this, by the way. This part on the right is higher than that. This portion from the bottom, it's actually 1, 2, and 2.5 dots. It's about 2.5 dots, maybe 3, but 2.5 dots. It only shows 2 dots here, but that's fine. It's about 2.5 dots here, and then the width of it is about 1, 2, 3. I would say 4. It's 5. You could go from one end to another. It's about 5. Okay, they've kind of put 5 dots in there. I would say it's probably 4. But 4 to 5, it's the same thing. So you could say it's about 4 to 5. So let's try creating the letter ba with the same idea. All right, how am I going to do this? Let's see. All right, I'm going to show it to you here. And all right, so I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second. If you could open it in another window. Actually, let me just do this. Sorry. It doesn't matter. Sorry. So I was trying something. What I will do is stop sharing screen, and I will go to the video. Rotate. So you saw the alifs before. I'm going to take the letter ba. That's the top part, right? So this should, and I'll talk about how big it should be. So I made my letter in red, and I'll use black as my measuring tool. 1, 2. So if you look at it, from here to here, that's about 2.5 dots. Nukta, right? That's what we call it, nukta. So it's you know, I drew about 3 of them, but it's really 2.5, I would say, just to be precise. And then let's go from here, this end, 1, sorry, full dot, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4.5, I would say. This is 5, right? Barely 5. So from here, oops, sorry. To here is about, let's just put 5, okay? About 5 dots. And if you're able to do that, you have a good letter in terms of size. Okay, I made this one a little bit bigger, so let's see how it looks. 1, 2, so 2.5 maybe, right? And then 1, I made it a little wider, 2, 3, 4, and almost 5. Now, I want you to understand, when you're practicing it, you have to practice it like this, okay? You have to practice it. But once you get to like doing calligraphy, right? You will be basically looking at doing the letter. Whoops, that's really wrong. Hold on. This is too short, and this is a little too long. Why? Because, or maybe close to it. You have to go by these. So if I drew a letter that looked kind of like this, and I'll just exaggerate, that looks good in terms of how I use my nib, but in terms of length, it's incorrect. Okay? And that's really how calligraphers grade your paper or measure the letters. I hope this is helpful. Any questions on this one? Do let me know. I just want to introduce this idea first, and then we'll go into the other letters, Ra and others you have expressed. Okay. Any questions at this point about the dot system? Now you should be able to see the paper. So how many dots? You should be able to copy paste that link that I sent you. This way you have this idea of how to measure these. I did not want to show this in my initial calligraphy stuff that I've sent you, because then it just becomes too much information, and people, when you give them too much information, they end up learning nothing. So piece by piece, I think step by step, we're going to try to become better. Now for dal, if you look at it, this next letter, they skipped jeem, ha, ha. I'll go over that too. How many dots? For jeem, basically, the header gets 4 dots. If I could show you. If you're able to see it, these 3 letters get, the top part gets 4 dots, number 1. And then if you look at the length of it, the height of it, it's actually 5 or 6 dots. Okay, 5 or 6 dots. We'll go over that. But I want you to recognize how they measure even angles. Okay, so like let's look at this. The letter dal, right? Why is that dot in there? That signifies if you have a straight line, and let's call this the back of the letter dal. If the back of the letter dal gets there, you should not be able to fit in more than a dot or dot and a half from the starting point to the invisible line, straight line that's there. You should not be able to put more than that, and that's how we can measure it. Okay, so that's the difference between dal and ra. Look how you can't fit anything on this side. It's just a slight curve, and we'll try to mimic that. Okay, so that's a starting point. This has more curve, and this has less curve, and then this obviously is a straight flat line, horizontally speaking, and this is something else. Ra has two parts, and that's what I want you to recognize. The first part, and a lot of these letters have that, the first part, and I want you to take a look closely at this, right? Look at the letter ba, the first part, and look at the letter ra, the first part. This is the same thing pretty much. So you would have to create this first, and then this is the second part in ra, right? So it's a stretched out nukta, and then this one. Okay, give me a second. I believe somebody had a question. Okay, so let's see. Talking about dal, and also I want to do jeem first, and then I want to go into the how many dots with jeem, and then how many. Okay, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're having a good time, and if your kids are jumping on you, then that's great. You know, that's how calligraphers actually improve their focus. You have to have at least, I try it with my 4 kids. You know, I gotta have 4 kids on top of me. And then if I could do calligraphy, that means I'm a master black belt calligrapher. And if you're not able to do that, you have, you know, your spouse just like telling you like, hey, where is this? And you're doing calligraphy, then you should tell them, I'm doing calligraphy. you should go find that. All right, I don't want to get in the middle of it. I get in big trouble. Well, good to have you all here, and I hope you're enjoying knowledge. So let's go to the letter G. Hopefully you could see it really well. And then I'm just going to go down a little bit just to kind of show you. This is the second part, right? And then the third part is this. And we could always fix it like that, right? 1, 2, 3. You all know how to go about doing this. Or now what I want to do, and I'm going to do this one in red. I will create, I'll actually create 4. So about 4 dots for the header. All right. You can see it, right? So that's about it. And then about, I think it was 6 dots we said. 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it should come down a little bit more, but that's okay. I'm gonna put my pen here. Six. The top part is 4. And then this part right here is a dot and a half. Okay, I'm gonna hold it up, sorry. If you have any questions, you could ask me. All right, let's see. If that may help. Oh, not this one. Jeem. So if you look at this right there, like how do you do the letters? I first showed you that on one side, and then the red dots are measuring device, right? So when you're creating your header, make sure that you have a header is the top part where it says number 4. The length of it, or the width of it, I guess, is 4 dots, sideways, horizontally speaking. And then you create the letter the way you have been taught so far, but the height of the letter is 6 dots. That's the height. And that will give you a good ratio, 4 to 6. Okay, now I have 2 other dots here. Not to complicate things, but I just want you to see this, that the back, like if you could call this neck, back neck, or the back of the letter, this line at the bottom stretches about 1.5 dots. So it has to go beyond the header, right? That's the way it goes, inshallah. Again, that's the way it goes. I hope this is helpful. And then we're going to go into the dal and ra. And you would have to practice a lot for those 2 letters too. All right. I hope you're staying strong. Everybody's online. Let's see. Did I lose any students? No. Very nice. That's awesome. People are. I hope your calligraphy is improving. How many people feel like their calligraphy is improving as opposed to how they started? It's good to put a date on, like your journals or calligraphy books, notebooks, because then you could see a marked improvement. The summer courses that I would do for students or children, like middle school, high schoolers at the Arts Council, and these are basically, people who have never touched their pen or done calligraphy. I have really cool stories about these people learning. Obviously it's a foreign language. First time picking up pen and doing calligraphy. One of the things that I realized is that when they're practicing, if they're using the techniques, the fundamentals in the right way, they pick it up really, really fast. Okay. I was going to show you the letter. I was going to show you. Oh, the dal and ra, right? So let's go to the letter dal. Sorry about that. Let's rotate the screen. And then we'll go into it. Oh yeah, so do put mark a date on your journal, so this way you see when you started and how you have come along, how far, or if you're improving. Definitely. So I'm going to rotate my journal. Okay, so now I'm looking at the letter dal. So do it as 2 parts. First one slightly goes up, and then, so you have this, okay, and then goes down. It has to be this way. Goes up slightly, goes down. This is finer at the end. If you look at it, it's like that. Most people, when they make a mistake, is this. Or like that, and then they'll do this. No elbows like that, okay? This is not a laptop that's opened up on a desktop like this, and then it has, tabletop. And then you have your lamp here, right? And the light is shining, and your flowers, a vase. That's not your laptop, the doll, basically. That's my point. So moving on. Okay. So let's try doing this again. It's slight up and then goes down, up and around, like that. So it gets smaller. And then the second part is actually connecting. So if you look at it, this right there, if you look at it closely, it's thin. When that's hopefully the right way. And then I'm going to show you the wrong way. Sorry. That most people do is they go like this, like that. Okay, no laptops, or they do it like this. Okay, so you can't do this and you can't do that. Actually, if you look at it, the doll, I'll show it to you again, hold on. If you do it like this, or like that, the greater cosmology of all things is actually person. Okay, so it's called the nose doll. Again, you don't want to do these. Okay. People are very sensitive about their noses, so don't make fun of somebody's nose by doing that. Okay. Lesson learn in life: do this, not this. I think I had too much coffee. I apologize. We're going off the subject, but the whole idea is that I don't want to make it a very dry subject. So again, I'm going to try my best. Here you have it, doll, then connect it at the bottom. Recognize the small, fine imprint here. Again, one more time. Oops. Now, I want to make sure that it's measured 2 dots at the bottom. Then there's about 1 dot here before the fine line. See that? And it's about 3 dots again in length. This might be a too linear, but I wanted you to recognize that. I'll show it to you. I'll hold it up and I'll show it to you, my fine artistic endeavor. Okay, so let's do this. No laptops, right? I talked about that. This is the way we create dolls. This is a finer line here, 2 dots on the top. Make sure you're able to do your doll with that. Don't do, and then we're talking about those 2D dolls. Where are they go? All the way here. Okay, don't do this with your dolls, the big nose or the straight nose. These are supposed to be 2 faces. So don't do that. You're in good company if you could drop your doll, like, remember the butt part, the first part of the butt? That's really what that is. This top part. Okay, so I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Is this helpful? It's a question. Is this helpful? All right, you can't see the top part. It just fixed kind of, okay. Great. And so we're gonna get down to the letter Ra. Final stretch. Last 5-10 minutes, and then we'll take any questions if you have. I hope this is helping you, improving you. Nothing else. I don't know if this is comedy to you, but it shouldn't be a serious class. So now we're going on Ra and Za. So the top part of dal is hard. It is, yes, but drop the. You start just like the letter ba, but it has more angle to it. So look at this. This is kind of like. All right, let me just show you. This is your ba, right? So you start with the ba here, and it kind of drops here, right? So instead of doing that, you do it like that, and then you end up with a dal. We'll practice some more. I'll do it one more time. Oh, so let's do this. Why don't you do, I'm gonna put the share screen. Why don't you guys create 10 beautiful dogs like this right there. Take a closer look. This is just too close. It's getting blurry, but I want you to recognize. All right, so let's practice 10 to 15 dolls. Do it in two parts. First part is this. Remember what I showed you? Kind of like the ba, but just stop right there, or just make it a little longer, stop right there, but it's more angular. Once you do that, then the bottom part is the same measurement, but it's horizontal pretty much. All right, and then see if you could do the straight line and your dot fits into this. You have different calligraphy pens if you ordered those pens, and that's why it's easier. And if I tell you to go out and get these supplies, people will have different stuff and everybody will be confused. So one thing I learned was just make it simple. Use one type of, measuring 3mm pens, and everybody hopefully will be on the same page. Now put a star. So you're practicing right now. 15 of these. Put a star on the one that you really like. This should become slightly finer, just like this. And then go out horizontally. This part should be easier for you. Okay. And then next one is raw. So I want you to start practicing raw. First part, almost hugging the line. All right. Lift your pen up. This is the first part, by the way, if it's not clear. This is just like a stretched out dot. And then this is the hard part, right? Try to come down and do a swoosh here, if possible. If not, I'm going to tell you, you could stop here. And just like the way we created the jeem, the end part, you could make it elongated. All right, so just make sure, if you're not able to do it the right way, and should go up. This thing's going up. Remember the jeem was also going up? So this also goes up. So two parts. All right. And now you could hit the panic button. Can you show us how you are writing? Having trouble with the bottom part of raw. Okay, well, we will conclude our lesson for today, where you guys are all stuck, and we'll continue next month. So we will fix the raws next time. It seems like we're out of time. Let's just continue. I'll give you more homework for next time. I'm joking. So let's go to the video, and I'm going to share with you the video. So we're going to go over it. So you recognize how many dots it was, the letter Ra? All right, so let's just go rotate this paper. So if you can see, I've done some Ra's here. I'm going to try to do it again. First part first. It's almost a straight line. I'm just going to put 2 dots here, just as a measuring device for top. And I'm going to put 2 dots here, 4. Okay, so you guys could see this. And I'm going to take my black pen. You were able to see, right? Sorry. And you're going to go, so if this is a line, you're going to go straight down, kind of like that. All right, now the pen hopefully could flow in this direction. You're going in this direction. All right, so I'm going to do this again. That's the first part. And hopefully your pen could go in this direction, and it will flow. You have to twist your pen on this one, by the way. You haven't done this, but you will have to do this. All right, the difference between dal and ra, this is ra, right? That's ra. Dal is like kind of like this. All right. That's dal. Ra is like this. Okay, so first part first, you create that. I hope you can see it clearly. And I'm going to do the second part. All right, see how simple it is? You guys are panicking for no reason. I'm going to do it again. Twist your pen as you go up. You come back and fix this part. Now I'm going to put the top part first. Oops, I messed it up. I messed it up a little. My pen wasn't really hugging the paper. Okay, now here it is, full format. Whoops, no. There. Try to do it again. Right there. Lay off paper. Okay. Oh, that's wrong. Right there. Right there. Right there. That's pretty bad. Then kind of you're gonna go like this, okay? So again, like there, and then I'm gonna take this off and then see that? So you're twisting your pen slightly. Okay? You're twisting your pen for the bottom part. I'll do it one more time. Let me try doing it with bigger calligraphy pen. All right, so this is the top part. That's the bottom part. The pen's not as sharp, by the way. Then like that. Okay, so I kind of right there. What I want to do, this has a little bit too much gap in there. I want to make sure that the gap is as small as possible. This should also a little bit higher up, okay? Then you have 2 dots here. So let's try to make about 15 of these. Hopefully this was helpful. Questions? And you may have questions that you're not able to finish off the letters, but did I go off the right side again? Yes, the top part is similar, but not same. It's slightly smaller for the rock. Okay. Does the raw get also thinner at the in the middle? Yes, that's like the finest part where the 2 raws connect. Where the 2 raws connect, that's really the fine part. You see that? Ra and za, it gets really fine. And then that's the swoosh part at the bottom. Okay, I hope this is helpful. If you look at the top part, it's almost straight. There's only, you could fit in maybe half a dot, as opposed to dal, behind the dal thing, what you could fit in two dots. Okay, some people we can't see. Okay, I can't get the ending as pointy. Try to do what we did with the jeem, remember? Yeah, so when you're at that point, that's a good question. When you're creating a dal, let me see if I have an example of student. And we're going to be finishing in a few seconds. I'll look at this. Yeah. So this is a good sheet to look at. So this is somebody's raw. You see that? And they're, they're trying to do their best. And it looks very similar to a dal, by the way, right? Doesn't it? So what they have to do is straighten this top part. That's number 1. 2, this becomes really thick at the bottom, right? And they keep continuing sideways. You're not supposed to go sideways in a raw. You're actually going down, okay? You're kind of going down, and then your swish part, the fine part, goes up. It's kind of tricky. So you're going down like this. You're sliding, all right? So I'll show it one more time. Let's see. I hope this one would help. All right. So if you're looking at this, and let's say you got the first part, right? Like that. Then it's hard to do calligraphy like this. You got this part. That's the bottom part, right? That's the correct part. Sorry. And if you add this to it, then you got a raw, okay? But this is a part where you messing up. So it kind of looks something like this, let's just say. Where it's really, really thick. It's not a fine point like this. You could you stop here right there. And then take the fine edge, the tip of your pen, and you could do that and fill it in for now, okay? But the focus should be to keep practicing and then trying to get that down the bottom. Fine. Now I want you to recognize after the first part, like right here, that first part, the letter is not going like this. Okay? Oops. That's not the direction you're going with the ra. The letter is not going down, but the letter is actually going, look at this, in this direction. You see that? If you're able to see it, you'll pick it up. So after the first dot, you just go down, and then you pick it up at the end. Kind of, I mean, I exaggerated on this one, but that's essentially what it's doing. Again, like this, like that. Cool. Oops. So keep practicing. This is one of the hardest letter, the swoosh part. If you learn that, you're way light years ahead of everybody else, and you'll be the first one on Andromeda, and all of us will be on Milky Way, Earth, planet Earth. That's fine. All right, any questions at this point? Do make sure that you send me your homeworks, and this is getting long. And last final minute thoughts, please share. Homework, practice. Oh, I gotta type this up. Yes, the class is once a month, last Sunday. Can you send us a printout? I shared with you the link, and I'll share it with you again. Make sure you copy paste or you open up the link right there. Okay, so open up that link and you'll have the dots standard. Now I want you to practice the first line with practice the first line with dot standard. Okay, that would be the homework. And if you need anything else, let us know, inshallah. So thank you so much. Everybody was on board. I really appreciate that. Everybody stayed together. I hope you were practicing and not just watching. If you haven't been able to do that, do practice. I would recommend that you do about 50 letters each this time again, but take a closer look. Speed is not the thing. The count is really not the big thing. The big thing is, create the letters in a nice and precise way, inshallah. Okay. Till next time, I will see you, inshallah. Questions, concerns, always send emails if you need to. But we could always come back here and entertain all these questions. So all the best, and I will see you then. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Bye.